Hey everyone, Anti-Fatano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Bedwetter album, Flick Your Tongue Against Your Teeth and Describe the Present. This is the latest project from one of rap music's most mysterious artists, now releasing music under yet another pseudonym. Of course, I'm talking about Mr. Lil Ugly Mane, who I'm glad is still releasing music because after his last album under that name in 2015, Oblivion Access, that sort of seemed up in the air. Even though, if I'm being honest, I wasn't all that crazy about Oblivion Access, because on this thing it sounded like Lil Ugly Mane was doing a pretty grand departure from the sound that people enjoyed from the project up until that point. And not to say that a lot of the releases that came after his legendary Mr. Thug Isolation tape didn't sound different, were kind of sporadic, unpredictable, weird, experimental. But on Oblivion Access, it seemed like he was bringing things back to more standard track structures, standard track listing, more rapping. But at this point, it wasn't really the Lil Ugly Mane that I and probably many of his fans came to know up until this point. The sound wasn't quite as murky or obscured or strange. It seemed like he was trying to pull the veil back a little bit and do something that was a little more personal, a little more him, not kind of playing a character. However, it felt like to me he hadn't totally worked out all the kinks, and some of his influences were very, very obvious. But now with this new Bedwetter album, it seems like Bedwetter is continuing with the sound that I and fans had heard on Oblivion Access, but fine-tuning it a little bit. And now that I'm hearing this record, it kind of makes sense, like new sound, new direction, new name. And from what I understand, this is just the first volume of what could be a larger album or some kind of ongoing musical series. The thing here is kind of scant. It's just 9 tracks. The intro track is really just kind of a short interlude, and it's about 28 minutes long. And from track to track, it's not really that much more cohesive than Oblivion Access was. As far as the flow of the album anyway, sonically, I think Bedwetter takes things into some pretty interesting directions. Of course, there are less vocal effects on this thing, not quite as much effort being put toward obscuring the vocals, maybe just a touch of reverb. This seems like, Bedwetter, again, kind of pulling back that veil, being himself, being raw. The real voice, nothing to hide behind this snide, nasty, cynical tone coming through in the rapping. These vocals kind of getting lost in the abyss of these very sad and grimy instrumentals. Case in point, the song HAZE of Interference, which features these lonely, distant pianos and very clunky, punchy percussion and these waves of distortion. Or the song Man Wearing a Helmet. A good portion of this track is just Bedwetter rapping over this really icy synthscape. But then the track finally explodes into this satisfying loop of this compressed percussion and these choppy, creepy piano phrases. I think some of the instrumentals here are some of Bedwetter, some of Lil Ugly Mane's best so far, except when he's releasing a track that is just an instrumental, of which there are quite a few in the track listing here. Songs that I think would have sounded cool as interludes in a grander, a greater, a longer project, but here they just really kind of dominate too much room in this already very short mini album. The chilling drone on This Is Not My Stomach is cool, and the very wintry and odd guitar, acoustic guitar passages on Fondly Eulogizing Sleep are nice as well. But I can't help but feel like these instrumentals are just kind of passing the time. I was hoping for more meaty, more consequential, more hard-hitting material on this thing. Mostly, the tracks where he's rapping, and the songs that he does do that, they are quite impactful. Man, they are heavy. Heavy in terms of lyrical content, because if there is a theme that links this whole album together, it's mental health. Pretty much every track here tackles some kind of intense depression or self-doubt, using drugs and alcohol as a crutch to kind of make it through these moods, make it through these moments where just cerebrally, Bedwetter is just suffering, or just the pain and anguish of not knowing how to fix this problem, not knowing where to go or who to talk to. There's one moment on the record where it seems like he's kind of going down memory lane to describe very vividly this troubled kid who became the manic artist you hear today performing on this record. There are tons of incredibly raw and revealing verses on this thing that can be pretty hard to listen to if you've ever dealt with any of the problems that Bedwetter is rapping about on this project, making for some of his best material to date, but there's not that much of that material here. And what is here isn't organized all that well. It's not groomed to flow in any sort of logical fashion. Will it feel that way if we get a volume 2, a volume 3? I'm not really sure. I'm not all that excited to hear 2 more projects like this. You know, again, while there are highlights on this thing, there's nothing about this project that feels all that together. And maybe Bedwetter's throes of depression, which do seem very real, as he mentions them in a Facebook post, I think, which he released along with this album that is very sad and very telling. Maybe those throes of depression are making that task difficult. I'm completely sympathetic to that, and while it would be nice to hear an album sort of dealing with these issues that feels a little more holistic, a little more complete, a little more cohesive, I guess I am more concerned with the emotions and the problems kind of fueling this album. I hope he gets better. If and when that process starts, maybe there will be a bit more harmony and unity amongst the tracks on whatever subsequent albums drop in the future. I'm feeling a decent strong 6 on this thing. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe, and please don't cry. Just leave an angry comment if you're angry at the review. Also, videos and other links next to my head that you should click, and hit the official website too, and subscribe. Eat your fruits and veggies too. Go vegan, bitch. Little ugly Bedwetter forever.